Hi everyone, it's me Giovanni, and before I get into this video and the topic that I'm going to talk about that you can also see from the screen, I was of course at my Nana's house for the weekend, Friday till Sunday, and I didn't upload a video yesterday because, let's just say I didn't know when. I just, it's almost like my mind froze because I don't know what happened. But all I do know is that my dad sometimes just won't stop bothering me. I'm not complaining about it, but still. Okay. And I accidentally downloaded something yesterday, but you know what? I'm just gonna ignore it for now because I do not want to check anything else on my tablet. That's all. That's it. That's all. So the topic that I'm gonna talk about today is Mary Schmidt and Mike Schmidt from Five Nights at Freddy's and Five Nights at Candy's. Now, if you know the story of Five Nights at Freddy's, you're probably you're probably an old fan of the entire timeline, or the original trilogy or quadrilogy about the timeline. And I am too. I like the dark timeline, the quadrilogy. I mean, it's the main timeline for me, especially the Fnaf hidden lore, the creepypasta story surrounding Fnaf. And even though it's not canon, in my mind, it would be canon. It would be canon. I mean, it would make the most sense. Because Fnaf, with Scott Coffin, his timeline is an absolute mess. But people try to correct it without being over the top. And some people, like super Horror Mike, do that. Okay. So, for Mary Schmidt, people were just, when people first knew about her character, they were thinking either she was Mike Schmidt's wife or sister. Just those two options. His sister or his wife. And I thought to myself, even though Mary already has a brother, we don't know anything about Mike Schmidt. And I'm guessing Mike Schmidt wouldn't be Mary's brother. So I was thinking, maybe Mary Schmidt is Mike Schmidt's wife? I mean, it has to be possible. And some people confirmed that maybe, or theorized that maybe, Mary Schmidt is Mike Schmidt's wife, due to some people thinking that her last name was actually Sherwood, even though Sherwood was Mary Schmidt's therapist. But regardless, I thought, you know what, maybe, yeah, Mary Schmidt would be Mike Schmidt's wife. I mean, sure, Mary Schmidt has a brother, but now, I can safely say that, the creator of Five Nights at Candy's, that his first name that I'm not going to say because it's confusing to say if his name is the short male name of Emily. So he said that that Mary Schmidt is not Mike Schmidt's sister, and that her last name was just a coincidence. I mean, yes, but is Mary Schmidt Mike Schmidt's wife? I mean, even though Five Nights at Candy's, including other fan FNAF games like Those Nights at Rachel's, Jolly's, Pop Ghost were all part of the original FNAF trilogy, I would think that regardless, especially since I look deeper within the character of Michael Afton, and considering that Mary is still Mary Schmidt, Even regardless if it wasn't in the original trilogy, Michael Afton was Mike Schmidt the entire time. And in some version, he still goes for that name, Mike Schmidt. So it could be possible that he and Mary Schmidt are a married couple. Even though Mike Schmidt was just a alias that Mike Afton chose just so he wouldn't get recognized as Michael Afton or any relation to his family. Because we all know that his father, William Afton, is a psychopath. And I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame Michael. But at the same time, he caused the mess to his father that ended up making him a murderer by shoving his brother into a machine that William created, an animatronic Fredbear. Okay, I'm just getting too much of myself. So I looked deeper into the character of Michael Afton and then Mary Schmidt, and if she was 6 years old, this was the actual Five Nights at Candy's timeline started in the early 1960s, like in 1961. So if Mary Schmidt was 6 years old in 1961, Mary Schmidt would either be born in 1954 or 1955. And Michael Afton would be born in 1967. So they would be like 12 years apart. And I looked on William's year of birth. And his year of birth might have been 1943. So he would also be 12 years apart from Mary. It's almost like in my alternate universe involving my character Quenzel Schmidt, where she's the daughter of Mary and Mike Schmidt. Sorry about that. But anyways, since Quenzel would be the daughter of Mary and Mike Schmidt, Mary would be Mary Schmidt before she was married to Mike Schmidt. She would be Mary Sherwood, even though that wasn't her actual last name, but it's an alternate universe, people. We all have alternate universes, or AUs as some people would call it. So just let me get comfortable. So in the alternate universe involving Mary and Mike Schmidt, where Quenzel Schmidt is the daughter, with Marilyn Schmidt being Quenzel's sister, the timeline would take place during the 1920s to the 1960s, giving it a vintage and classical sort of vibe. I mean, I love the 1960s. Don't come for me. And in the timeline, Mary Schmidt would have been born in 1910. Don't ask. And in that universe, the purple guy that we know of would be Peter Wiltaker, the name given to Purple Guy in the Hidden Lore, the Five Nights at Freddy's creepypasta. And Mary Schmidt would date Peter, but then later when they would break up, Mary would date Mike Schmidt. So yeah. And in that universe, Mike Schmidt is 3 years older than Mary, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Their ages don't matter, even though some ages would still be a problem. Like, as for Snow White and Prince Florian from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, people thought that Prince Florian was 31, meanwhile Snow White was 14. But that turned out not to be true because that article just turned out to be a fake. Because Google sometimes just makes up false accusations about certain characters. or certain things happening. And Prince Florian was actually 18. And sure, the 4-year age gap would still be a problem, technically, but at the same time, it's not really. And in Snow White's story that takes place in the 1500s or the 16th century, it would be totally okay for Snow White to get married at that certain age. So why do people think that Prince Florian is a pedophile? No, he's not. No. And as for Mary and Mike Schmidt, it doesn't matter what their age is, because as it turned out, being being in a relationship with someone 12 years older or younger would be okay. And as for the case for Mary and Mike Schmidt, that would be totally fine. Even as you can see from this fan art that I found, look at this. Mary says, "Our daughter is in a haunted factory," and Michael Afton, or Mike Schmidt, whatever name you want to call him, he has Bite of 83 flashbacks. And I'm just like, from this scene, this just confirms that they are, in fact, a married couple, because Mary Schmidt has a daughter named Marilyn, and this just fits. I don't care if it was a coincidence or that they're not even related in any way. They deserve to be together. I love them. Okay, if I had a conclusion, then that means yes, maybe they would be a married couple. It's just too much of a coincidence that I cannot ignore it. I love it. But also, in this scene, Michael Schmidt is having Bite of 83 flashbacks, and I'm like, why? Why are you having this moment? Your daughter is not going to be bitten in the frontal lobe or crushed to death by an animatronic. She's in a haunted factory. A haunted factory. And Mary... Okay, I would imagine if a Mary Schmidt was fired from her job in Five Nights at Candy's 1, she would go outside and meet with Michael Afton, Mike Schmidt, and he would propose to Mary. And with most marriage proposals, Mary, of course, would say yes. And Mike Schmidt would not hesitate to change his name to Mike Schmidt. Michael Afton would change his name to Mike Schmidt. And they would have a kid named Marilyn, but the year before that, they would have Quinzel. My character, Quinzel. Don't ask. And, later on, when Marilyn lies to her parents and says that, and secretly goes to the haunted factory to, spend 5 or 6 nights in, like her mother did, because she lost a bet to her friends, Mary Schmidt and Mike would know about this, and Mary and Mike would just freak out, and Mary would be like, "Our daughter is in a haunted factory." They would just be freaking out, and Mike Schmidt would just, for some reason, have Bite of 83 flashbacks. Like, dude, why are you having this? This is not about, those flashbacks are not about your daughter. Your daughter is in a haunted factory with animatronics that might try to kill her by not biting her in the frontal lobe or crushing her to death. And in the story, Mary Schmidt survives with her parents, so all well that ends well. So, in my conclusion, Mary Schmidt and Mike Schmidt would be a married couple. Don't ask. It's too beautiful.